still pretty good. Um, to me, it's kind of like a basics of Bio 201, like your first biology course in college. So honestly, it's just good refresher information. Okay. So put my pause there. Okay, so chapter 1. Introduction to biology. So what is biology? Biology is the study of life and living things. Biologists refer to living things as organisms. Organisms, like humans, animals, and plants, all rely on one another to live. Many organisms grow, change, reproduce, and die. The series of changes that an organism can go through are called the life cycle. So you can see here, definitions. We have a human life cycle, so fertilization to babies, childhood, adolescence, and then it repeats. An important part of biology is studying how organisms interact and the laws that apply to their life cycles. Biology is called a life science or natural science because it is the study of life forms in nature. Biology comes from the Greek word bios, meaning life, and logia, meaning study of, logia. Biology translates to the study of life. Yep. Okay. So, types of biology. Biology is divided into many branches or disciplines. The main disciplines are anatomy, which is the bodily structure of organisms, botany, which is the study of plants, ecology, which is the relationships between various organisms, microbiology, which is the study of tiny organisms, pathology, which is the study of the cause and effects of diseases, pharmacology studies the use and effects of drugs, physiology studies the function of living organisms and their parts, taxonomy studies the classification of organisms, toxicology studies the nature and effect of poison, zoology affects is the study of animals. Oh, crocodile here. Biologists use their specialized knowledge in various ways. There are biologists who work as researchers on food products, medicines, or analyzing diseases. Others use their knowledge to advance agriculture or provide solutions to environmental issues. The tools of the biologist. Specialized tools are sometimes used to study organisms in specific branches of biology. For example, a botanist may need tools like a trowel and shears to collect specimens, while an anatomist might work with the tweezers and scalpels. Microscopes. Most biologists, regardless of their branch, rely on some type of imaging tool. The microscope was the first image tool invented. A microscope is a tool that provides an enlarged image of an object. All scientists begin their experiments with observation. A microscope helps scientists see tiny organisms and understand the fine detail of cells, fibers, and other structures visible to the naked eye. There are various types of compound and electron microscopes. These microscopes can be specialized to fit biologists' field of study. However, they all have the same basic function to show detail in objects that cannot be seen by the naked eye. So, in a school lab, we usually use a compound light microscope, just like this, like the normal thing. It has two lenses, the ocular lens that we look through, and the objective lenses that are closer to the slide. The larger the magnification, the longer the objective lens, so it's a longer lens. Be careful not to crush the slide with the lens. So if you've ever, used one of these in school, you're going to recognize that when you want to magnify closer, these things get really long, and you have to be careful not to actually push it up against. It's pretty easy to do that. Now, electron microscopes are similar to compound light microscopes, except they use really tiny particles called electrons instead of light to show the specimen. There are two main types of electron microscopes: transmission electron and scanning electron. Other imaging tools. So the X-ray is another imaging tool used in biology. It's most commonly used in research and in the practice of medicine. X-rays are a type of radiation that are absorbed by various things. When a human or animal undergoes an X-ray, the image taken of their body reveals the structures that absorb the most radiation. In the picture, bones appear white because the calcium in them absorbs the most radiation. Everything else in the body absorbs less radiation, causing the color of the organs to look gray or black. So an X-ray works. Next we have magnetic resonance imaging scans, or MRIs. MRIs are another form of imaging used in medicine. MRIs use a magnet and radio waves to produce detailed images of the internal organs and muscles that might not show up on an X-ray. Many microscopes and radiation-based imaging tools are linked to computer programs to create and visualize images in a more efficient manner. Looks like we have a little knowledge check here. So, what is biology? Biology is the study of life. Biology is known as a what science? What kind of science? That's going to be a life science. What is the life cycle? Meaning the stages of the human life cycle. The life cycle is essentially the path and the progression of an organism from birth to death, and how that cycle repeats, to keep those organisms going. So I named the stages of the human life cycle. So, there's fertilization of the egg that turns into immancy, which then turns into, child. Which turns into child, which then turns into adult, or to teenager. Teenager is then going to turn into adult. At that point, adult can then fertilize again, and allows us to learn more, one discipline at a time. Anatomy is a discipline that studies what? What does anatomy study? Well, to be frank, I want to double check to make sure I don't say wrong. Okay, yeah, the bodily structure of organisms. Structure of organisms. What is the function of tools for scientists? Well, what are the function of tools for anything really, right? They help us. For scientists, it's going to help them learn more. It's going to help them study better, perform more experiments, see more things that they would otherwise not see. What is the purpose of a microscope? I think the purpose of a microscope would be to get better imaging of very small things that we would otherwise not be able to see. How can you magnify a specimen using a compound microscope? How would I do this? You can magnify it by using the different lenses and moving these lenses closer to the slide. But remember, try not to get too close and break it. Number 9. Why do bones show up on an X-ray image? Why do bones show up on an X-ray image? I believe it is because they absorb more X-rays. Specifically, the calcium in your bones absorb more of the X-rays, which makes it more visible. What does magnetic resonance imaging show in a body? Well, it's kind of cheating. We have the answer right over here, but it allows you to see the internal organs and muscles better. There we go, the answers. Sorry about that. So chapter 2. Critical thinking in biology. Now I'm going to do my best here to keep this still. I see the camera shake a little bit. It's kind of a weird mount I have going here, but we will do our best. Okay, so critical thinking in biology. So scientific inquiry. Scientists use evidence from observations and experiments to create an explanation of an event. This process is called scientific inquiry. Scientific inquiry begins with the observation of something unknown, which leads the scientist steps that help scientists conduct their experiments. The scientific method starts with a single question. Single question. Single question. The type of question asked creates the boundaries for the experiment. The more specific the question is, the more focused the experiment will be. So, for instance, using the scientific method is like building a house. The initial question could be thought of as the foundation of the house. Just as a shaky foundation can cause a house to fall apart, not having a clear, specific question can prevent an experiment from having direction and then failing. Once a question has been posed, scientists conduct background research to gather information about the experiment they need to perform. Scientists use the information they found to make an assumption about the answer to their question. A hypothesis is a possible explanation for an observation or a problem that can further be tested by the experimentation. There can be many various hypotheses proposed to answer a single question. However, there should only be one experiment for each hypothesis. So your hypothesis is the proposed answer to the scientific question. Biologists use experiments to test hypotheses. During the experiments, they study variables, factors that can change an experiment results. There are two different variables. An independent variable is a condition that has been changed before an experiment. An independent variable is a condition that has been changed before an experiment. Very important. A dependent variable is the factor that is influenced by the independent variable. It is what is affected during the experiment. So an experiment is a procedure used to test the hypothesis. As you can see down here, your independent variable is a change, and that then affects the dependent variable. So if you change something here, and that may then change this. Any data from the experiment, even if that data proves the hypothesis wrong, is collected and analyzed in a results step. This analysis can be done by the team performing the experiment or by other scientists. After results are gathered and analyzed, conclusions can be made. These conclusions are important and may result in the need for a brand new experiment, which is why collecting all the results is important. After the analysis, scientists compare the conclusion and the original hypothesis. They ask, does the conclusion confirm or support the hypothesis? If it does, then the experiment is complete and the results are considered the answer to the question. When a hypothesis is supported by the results of an experiment, the hypothesis becomes a theory. If the hypothesis is not supported, a new hypothesis must be made and tested. In these cases, the scientific method begins the cycle again, from the conclusion that proved the hypothesis wrong to a new hypothesis to more experimentation. You can see, does the conclusion support the hypothesis? Yes. You have a theory? No. Back to the drawing board with a new hypothesis. And that's what science is all about, right? You having an educated guess, testing it out, and then, most likely it's wrong, but you get closer and closer every time you try. The final step in the scientific method is the sharing of results. Both scientific and medical communities to evaluate the findings themselves. It also provides instructions so that other researchers can repeat the experiment, build on it, and verify and or confirm the results. Results should also be shared with other scientists who may be able to use those results on their own experiments in the future. Okay, I'm try to finish this real quick. So here we have a great little demonstration of the scientific method. So we ask a question or identify a problem, conduct our background research. We then create a hypothesis, right? Well, it does that with an experiment, make observations and collect data during that experiment, analyze the results and draw conclusions. You'll then share those results, but also, if the conclusions are false, change variables and start again with a new hypothesis. Alright, let's go ahead and check our knowledge. Do a little knowledge check here. What is the purpose of the scientific method? What is the purpose? I would say that it is to test a hypothesis, or another way is to say it would be, so that you can try to answer a problem that you have, or a question you have. A blank must be created before the scientific method can be used. That's going to be a hypothesis. Hypothesis. Number 3. What helps with focusing the scope of the experiment? It says also a hypothesis. I actually don't know. It's kind of an interesting way to ask that question. I'm going to say hypothesis again. What is the purpose of doing background research? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? I would say the purpose of doing the background research is so that we're not starting off blind. Someone may have already answered our question, so we would want to research and see if that's happened. If not, then we can gather more information on how to test our question better. So that's why. I think this question, actually going back, it might just be, asking a specific